Hey guys, Dwayne here. Today I want to talk a little bit about how to deal with when your child is being poisoned and turned against you. In this video, I want to talk a little bit about how you deal with that when you still actually have contact with your child. I'll make another video that talks about it, about some things you can do whenever you don't have contact with your child and how to cope with that. But this video is really going to talk about what your situation is whenever you still do have reoccurring contact with your child. Now it may not be 50-50 like it is currently in my case. It could be a more limited interaction, but as long as you have that reoccurring positive interaction, this is what this video is really going to be talking about. Okay, so the key factors whenever you're trying to figure out how susceptible your child is to basically being poisoned or turned against you is the first thing is what your relationship with your child is right off the bat. If you've had or if you currently have a an estranged relationship with your child now, it is going to complicate things a little bit, because as your ex starts feeding into planting seeds that their relationship is bad with you, they're already going to have that fundamental feeling that there's an issue. Now, conversely, if you have a good relationship with your child, now your ex could poison that and cause problems with that, but if you already have a good relationship, just kind of focus on that, because that's a really key thing that helps you in this entire process. Now, the second part about it is the personality of your child. Depending on how they typically react, whether they take sides, whether they're more neutral, and that can change varying degrees depending on how this whole process takes place. Now, one thing I will tell you is, if you are not coined, but put in the category of being the one responsible for the divorce. So if the other parent is able to say that it's your fault for whatever reason, there's a potential that even if you do have a good relationship, it could set that back just a tad, because they are trying to, they could potentially be picking sides and blaming you for the current situation. And the last thing that's a really key factor in how susceptible your child will be on this is, what is your current interaction? What's your current interaction with them? Whether it's in person, whether you have reoccurring contact with them with visitation, and if you have electronic, which is telephone or instant messaging or Skype calls or FaceTime calls, that type of thing. What that really means is that you currently have an interaction with them and you're able to maintain some level of contact. Now, like I said in the beginning of the video, I'll make another video specifically talking about whenever you don't really have a current interaction with your child, or it's really limited, and because that creates a whole another set of problems and another techniques to deal with that. So, excuse me. Okay, so how do you fight it? Right? So, and the key thing on this is whenever you ultimately see that it's actually going on, it's going to freak you out, okay? And I'll just say right off the bat, you need to remain calm and don't get triggered by what's happening, because it is going to anger you, it's going to stress you, it's going to scare you, and it's going to cause you, like I talked about in another video, it's going to cause you to start reacting emotionally, which that's not a good idea for a lot of different reasons. Okay, so the main thing is you need to maintain that physical contact. Make sure that you have a meaningful, reoccurring interaction with your child, in person, visitation, whatever that is. Even if it's just something small like dinner visits or taking them to school or whatever. In my case, when my separation first started, it was basically relegated to a weekend, every other weekend type father. However, basically because my ex didn't want to take the kids to school, figured, I could get up early and take them to school, then she could pick them up. But I had basically 20 minutes every morning with my kids every day, or not every day, but basically during the school. I mean, this whole thing in my situation started right at the beginning of school. So I was able to see the kids every morning. And I think that was crucial for me in my situation, because I was able to maintain that constant connection with them to kind of counteract what was being said and the message that was trying to be basically implanted into their head. So, the next thing is you make the connection that you do have with them stronger, right? Hopefully you already have if you have a strong connection with them, with your kids, then that puts you in a better situation, and it diminishes the effect of what the other parent can do. Now, one thing to think about, if you don't have a really good relationship with your kids, now's the time to start working on it. And this is where it rolls back into what I was talking about in the first part of this about how to fight it, is you got to remain calm and not get triggered. And when I say remain calm and not get triggered, now you may initially think that I'm talking about being triggered by your ex. When your kids are in this position and they're basically being used as weapons, they are going to trigger you as well. Whenever they come over and they complain about something or they say something that reminds you of the ex, or it reminds you of the situation that they're basically trying to be turned against you, you need to remain calm with that. Don't fall into it. One, that's exactly what the ex is trying to do, right? They're trying to establish that your kids have an estranged relationship with you. And whenever you are stressed and you are reacting emotionally instead of rationally, then you can feed into that. If they're already thinking, if they're basically being saying, well, you have an estranged relationship with your father, like in my situation, and he gets mad, and he whatever, you list a laundry list of things that that you may have done in the past that could be highlighted, right? So highlighted that you do those things. And then if you do get frustrated and you do respond that way, then whenever your child is trying to make sense of everything, if you're doing and acting a certain way that the other parent is saying that you do, then you're validating, in the child's mind, you're validating what the other parent's saying. Now, they don't get that there's a whole context that's associated with that. So you got to be careful of that, and you have to think about that, and you really have to try to get a firm grasp on your emotions so that you can remain calm and make rational decisions instead of emotional decisions. Now, when you're going through this, good relationships with your kids is the key to fighting this, okay? If you have a good relationship with your child, basically just continue working on that. If you have a bad relationship, like if you've had some issues, and guys, it could just be that when you were married, you were cast into the light of the disciplinarian or the bad guy, good cop, bad cop, and you were the bad cop. So you're already a few steps back, and that's kind of the situation I was in. So some of those things that were being said were easily believed because I fell into that category. Mom was the nice person who was always, didn't really hold them accountable and was friendly with them, and I was the one who was coming in trying to tell them what to do, and sometimes my technique wasn't really that great. If you fall in that category, own it, take a step back, and then work on repairing the relationship with your kids. And bottom line is, don't fall into the fear. Don't fall into the fear that your kids are going to get completely turned on you. It may happen, but you need to take a step back and not let the potential of that overpower your thought process and your decisions. And because I tell you, that makes everything worse. When you get into that situation and you start making emotional decisions, you basically start alienating your kids yourself by your own actions. Like I've said before, it's not so much your words, it's your actions. You can say whatever you want to say to your child, but you have to follow it up with actions to show that it's real. And bottom line is, trust the relationship you have with your kids. If you have a good relationship with your child, then just try to relax a little bit. I know it's really hard on this, and it can be really angering and frustrating when you know that your ex is trying to turn your kids against you and paint you as the bad guy. Just don't fall into that trap. Don't allow the fear of that what you think and what you think is happening and what you know is happening, but trust the relationship that you have with your child and just keep building on that. Trust it and keep building onto it. Okay, so if you have some things you want to share with everyone about how you've dealt with your character being poisoned towards your kids, towards you, share that in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you dislike this video, give it a thumbs down. And if you like this channel, please subscribe, and I will talk to you guys on the next video. Take care. Bye.